Are you in contact with Todd Murphy? Because he's over here playing county cricket, isn't he?
He's playing for Gloucestershire. I think.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
I literally just texted him about an hour ago, actually. But I think
Did
he'll be waking up soon.
So they would have finished yesterday, I reckon. I'm not sure where they were playing. So we've got Corey over here, Corey Roccacchiola.
Oh yeah, from WA.
Yeah. What a man.
Yeah, good fella.
What a man. So one thing that trying to think of, I can't immediately think of any other Australians we got. Tom Latham is playing, but Corey, so detailed in his preparation. He's in the gym every morning, so he's living close to the ground. But his habits, his preparation, and his talking about the game, he's an absolute cricket geek. Match day -1, he gets his cones out. He's going through his alignment drills, making sure he's ticking off all of his basics. He's bouncing ideas off with his spin bowling coach back home. But so diligent in what he's doing. I mean, it's brilliant to see, and it's brilliant because it's another great example of somebody who's not even at the top of his game. He's at a high level, of course he is, but still looking for those 1-2%ers, asking questions, curious. It's no surprise at all where he's at, because he's played Australia A, hasn't he, Corey?
Yeah, he has. He's improved quite a lot, like rapidly over the last few years.
Has he? Well, he's over here. Because I was asking him about, well, how did you get here? Well, he jumped at the chance of any opportunity to come and play county cricket because of the volume we are playing, and obviously you can't replicate that in training, but it's competitive matches. He was supposed to have gone to Gloucestershire, but something happened there, so we picked up on that. Part or a big reason why he wanted to come over was the volume, but secondly, learning what speed he needed to bowl on English wickets compared with bouncier, slightly quicker Australian. So with one goal in mind, he's coming over here for 4 to 6 weeks to put a tick in that box, go back home. So he's always got that experience to tap back into. It's bloody brilliant. It's all the things that I think is really important for high performers. Where can I go now to learn more? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. That's great. I think it's something. It's a good lesson because, like, he's gone over there with a purpose, hasn't he? To learn something specific rather than just like do it for no reason and just because the opportunity is there. But like to be really targeted about it, I think that's the really good part about it.
Yeah, no, that's been good. How's your week been since we last spoke?
Yeah, week's been really good actually. It's been I feel like I always say this on Thursday. It just goes so fast, but everything's been going really well from my point of view. I was starting to get a little bit sniffly, a bit sick towards the end of last week, but knocked out on the chin really, really quick. So I'm feeling pretty good. How about you? How's yours been going?
Well, we had a rain affected last game. So what happens there is you got a rain affected day, but then they try to make overs up on days 2, and there was a little bit in day 3 as well. So long days. You can probably tell in my voice. I'm just keeping on top of things at the moment, taking some extra vitamins and stuff, making sure that don't go down with anything. We drew yesterday. It's an interesting one because this is the first round of using a different ball, a Kookaburra ball. So we've got highly skilled bowlers that are nudging 80 miles an hour, but mainly just below that. Highly skilled with a Duke ball that swings, it nips around, given the right conditions, right surfaces. The Kookaburra presents its own series of challenges in that it doesn't swing very much at all. You might get conventional swing for 3 or 4 overs maximum, and then it's a bit of a scramble of looking after the ball. It's not a scramble, but kind of being very clear on looking after the ball in such a way that how can we get it moving laterally, because we need to, because of the ball speeds that we have in our in our bowling group, and we played against Somerset that have tall, slightly quicker bowlers, back of a length bowlers, smash the pitch, who manage the ball quite nicely. But it's always interesting in every game, actually, regardless of what ball you're bowling with. Lateral movement just quickens the game up. Batters, their technique is tested massively. Somerset were able to get lateral movement for more overs than we were, and that really put us under pressure. But we came away with a draw, and that finished yesterday. So,
was it a higher scoring game? Then I feel like I look at the scores, and I know Toddy's game was high scoring. Was yours high scoring? Did some team get a big score?
Yeah, so they got 500.
That's it.
We got 360. So avoided the follow on. They batted again, and we got a couple of. We kept chipping away with the wickets in the second innings. Kind of expecting them yesterday to come hard in the first hour and then declare like 350 ahead, maybe slightly less. But they didn't. They batted pretty well. The whole of the first session yesterday left us 370 in 64 overs. So the game was kind of gone. They wanted it back to safety. On a used wicket, it bounced a little bit more. It was a hybrid pitch, which we don't play many championship matches on those. But yeah, it was high scoring, and that's the kind of trait with using a kookaburra ball in this country, because the wickets are slower. So you really need to be good at managing the ball, which is a kind of a process in itself. So yeah, it was an interesting challenge. I'm going in today. I've got a couple of bowlers to get through, and then we travel down to Brighton on Saturday to start another 4-day game on Sunday. So straight back into it.
Condensed schedule. That sounds hectic. How was you guys have Jacob Bethel playing for you guys as well, don't you?
Yeah, so he came back. He didn't play in that first test, so he came back and he joined us as well. So I guess his only challenge will be the pace of the game, pace of the bowlers, and that's it really. But yeah, what an athlete! I mean, it's brilliant to have him back in the team.
Yeah, he seems like an absolute talent. So everyone raves about him. They all rave about him, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, it was obvious. I worked with Jacob back in 2022, I reckon it was, under-19 World Cup. He got an 80. I think it was in the quarterfinal against South Africa. Opening the batting, got an 80 or 60 balls, something like that, maybe even 50 balls. And people are raving about him. Like I was working with the England team, and it was pretty obvious that we're just waiting for a spot for him to open up. We're just going to put him straight into the England senior team, and he had to wait another couple of years. But it's interesting, isn't it, that some players thrive the highest standard they play. But he still hasn't played scored a senior century.
Yes, I know. It's crazy.
Yeah. But some players, you have a bit of a hunch about, and you just put them up anyway. So he's made match-winning contributions. Think about, he got 90 odd, didn't he, against New Zealand on that series. ODI matches, IPL matches. He's played like match-winning contributions. But it's interesting. Some players are able to step up their own game, the better standard they play, being surrounded by better players. It's almost like, in business, I keep reading that you put yourself in amongst people that are high achievers that challenge you, and they drag you into their way of thinking, their way of performing, and you take bits and you make it your own. I reckon that's exactly what's happened with him, really. Yeah, I mean, I guess his challenge is dialing down the speed and the pace, because county cricket is, compared with where he has been playing, a slower pace, slower bowlers on his own team compared with the test bowlers and stuff. So I guess that's his only challenge, making sure he's able to find a way, sort of thing. But it's not easy stepping down, I wouldn't have thought.
Nah, I think one thing that Doc Toddy talks about when he goes like into the Australian squad is just like how much higher intensity the training is, and like how much more everyone is like so dialed in and really like specific with what they need to get out of it and really targeted compared to like some of the Victorian boys. And it's just like it just rises to that level where everyone is just like at the peak of their powers. How does how do like the England guys go? With you guys, do they say it's a big difference between county and international? And when they come back down, can you tell what they've been with those like high performers?
Yeah, it's not really talked about. So Wokesy comes back and plays again. He's at a stage of his career where he knows what he needs to do in terms of it, looking after his body, his preparation, his recovery, all that kind of stuff, and he knows what he's good at. And so I don't think it matters. I think it's individual. So somebody like that with a lot of experience, what's he played now? 70 test matches for England, double World Cup winner. When you're at that sort of level, I think that you just kind of slot into what is required, but also because of who you are and the experience you've got, it's clear that you are a step above. Not that he does that intentionally, but he just does what he does. When somebody is kind of learning, progressing through those standards, I think there's still a little bit of, okay, they're obviously, Beth and the younger lads are obviously developing. Dan Maisley, he's another one that's had England A experience, although he played out in the Caribbean. I think it's just a case of, like, I say the word curious a lot, don't I? But those that are still at peace with, I am not the finished article. They observe a lot, not of their own teammates solely, but the opposition as well. And I think that as you're moving up through, progressing through the ladder, they're still testing stuff. What can give me a slight edge? But in terms of players coming back down, Tom Latham's just consistent. I mean, what a professional he is, you know, a great man. So I don't think that when players at that age and that experience, I don't think it matters what standard, they just do their thing and they stand out because of it.
Yeah, 100%. I think just from being in those environments, you just elevate naturally, don't you? Like everything's just done that 5-10% better, no matter what, because it's just the people around you, isn't it? Those environments, and the environment sets up everything, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. We've done quite a lot of work with our environment. It's not, we don't get it right all the time, but when, you know, most of it is, it causes like discussions, review discussions. Did we uphold our standards? But yeah, it's been another interesting week. And next week, you know, having been down to Brighton for a few days, that'll bring challenges in itself. So yeah, we'll see. And then we get back into the crazy season of T20. Like literally within 2 days, we finish a championship game, and then 2 days later, we're playing up at Leicestershire in the T20. It's bouncing around all over the place at the moment.
It's a hectic schedule, even for the coaches and that. Like, how do you? What are some of the things you're doing to try and manage your energy, or like the players and group energy?
I don't think we do it very well, really. I mean, we're a small group of coaching staff. So there's like the skills coaches, and then there's sports science and medicine. Sports science and medicine, I think, get it quite right. They get it better, right, more times, because there's two or three physios, there's 2 S&C coaches. So they take those opportunities to take some time out, refresh, get away from the game, keep them properly energized, sort of thing. Coaches are slightly different. I think it's one of those areas that we just need to constantly monitor. You know, how are we showing up today? You know, you could tell it. I feel like I'm on the verge of going down with something, which is why I keep going. I'm not going to break the habit of all the things I know is good for me. We got a new head coach Ian Westwood, who's doing a great job. He was batting coach last year, but he's taken on the additional kind of workload of being a head coach. Like his phone is constantly pinging and getting involved with like committee meetings, reporting back into them. Whereas before he was a bit like me, get home, family time and stuff. He's got a young family. So keeping an eye on each other, I think, we've got each other's back and making sure that we're taking things away from somebody if they are, visibly flagging. I think that's all we can do. But it's always quite nice to just get away from the game a little bit. Even stuff like this, we're going to talk in a minute about a few things that I wouldn't normally get to talk about, but it's kind of refreshing. I think keeping this going, keeping the brain like growing, conversations, areas of the game that you wouldn't normally talk about, I think that's really important, really.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I was reading a good book actually. It's called The Inner Game of Tennis. I've got up here, all about mindset and all those things. And I think I read something about like the brain is a muscle, and it's like it can grow and develop, which is awesome, but it can also fatigue. So if you've got like big games or big moments coming up as players, big tournaments, or if you've got a game tomorrow, or as coaches, if we got a busy stint, then it wouldn't, make sense to go and run 15, 20 Ks and fatigue your body the day before a big game. But often we can, do things that's the equivalent to fatiguing the mind before big events. So it's important to do things that recharge you and like almost keep you mindful. Like when we're chatting right now, it's like we're only really thinking about the chat. And so it's almost like mindfulness a little bit refreshing. Or if you just watch a movie or a TV show or something like that, where you're like fully locked in and you're not on your phone, you've actually like really engaged in it. It's almost like therapeutic, and things like that can be almost like putting petrol back in the car just to refuel yourself.
I've made a real concerted effort when I'm at home sort of thing. And I've had to flag it at work because, if somebody calls me from work but I don't answer, I've said, look, don't take it personally, but I'm committing my time at home because, I now view my time at home as being sacred. And I'm doing this kind of stuff because everyone else is in bed. But when I'm at home, I'm doing puzzles with the boys, I'm playing about with them, setting up obstacle courses in the garden and stuff like that. I want to be in the room sort of thing. But in this day and age, I think it's easier said than done because phones and, you could, if you chose to, constantly work, check your emails, check your WhatsApp. I must get back to, but quieting the mind down, I think, is so important for productivity and your own efficiency. So, but I have flagged that at work already. Don't take it personally.
100%, absolutely, 100%. Like you're at work long enough. If it's that important, you could have told me when I'm at work.
Yeah, I think so. Mate, so I've got a couple of things. I've got 10 minutes before Seb is going to come down because that's when his glow clock owl wakes up, and that's his time. I sent you a message last night. Just a couple of interesting areas, and as always, I'm coming at it from a simplistic bowling coach's area. So I've put the hidden impact of ground contact time. So I really want to work with bowlers that are efficient in their running. Run and move quickly, but with less effort. And so what is that? What in terms of foot strike from an S&C perspective, and then obviously we'll talk about the crossover. Whatever you are asking your athletes to do when they are moving and they've got contact with the ground, talk about some of the things that that's really important from your perspective and what you are looking for in your athletes.
Yeah, 100%. So let's talk about the end goal is to run fast and efficient. Let's talk about running. Let's keep it really, really simple. Run fast and efficient. There's probably two ways that I break down an athlete or bucket them in to categorize them. There's someone who is the more thicker, stronger, muscular build athlete, and the more skinnier, leaner, narrower sort of person. And so both can run, let's say, 35 k's an hour, let's say, at a top speed.
Yeah.
But both of them will do it in slightly different ways. So the guy who is thicker, stronger, muscular, let's think about a Chris Tremlett or a Tim Bresnan, for example. They're going to spend more time on the ground than someone like a Joffrey Archer, for example, or a Jimmy Anderson. So I think it's important to not try and turn one into the other. So understand that their strengths are their strengths, and the thicker muscular guys can produce more force where they're more like muscular driven, where those skinny and narrow guys are more like elastic, more bouncier driven.
Yeah.
So just being aware of those things is really, really important. And when we're analyzing running technique, and then like having different, understandings of what their technique might look like based on that. And then in terms of how we like be more efficient, there's obviously your foot on the ground when you're running, and then it's what you do in the air when to set yourself up to then attack the ground. So I think that's how I break down running mechanics is what are you doing to prepare your leg to then hit the ground in the right spot? So then you can bounce up. So if you're doing running with poor technique where you're like overstriding, you're landing on your heel, you're landing like soft and you're like sinking into the ground, those are some things that, would really like to clean up. And often it's working on getting a bit more knee drive, working on cycling your feet out in front. It might be like pulling your toe up instead of letting your toe come down so you can hit the ground a bit firmer, a bit stiffer, things like that. That's from like a technical point of view. And then from like a physical point of view as well is making sure that we're doing our plyometric training, making sure that you can do some isometrics in like a running specific position as well to get really strong in that area.
Yeah.
And just being really like generally strong and training that. Is there a couple of things that I go down to? One's like a technique and then one's like a physical side. And then just also just like making sure the athlete knows what it feels like to run well and be fast and crisp off the ground. They're kind of the things that I look at straight away.
So if what are the kind of things then? Let's say you've got a how did you describe it? Thicker, stronger, and they land softer and maybe sinking. So we all see those bowlers, right? What are the kind of things that immediately go to through your mind to say, right, these are the set of drills that this bowler, I'd be curious to put that bowler through them to see if we can tweak and improve their technique. But it's not over one session, right? It takes time to change any sort of movement pattern. But what kind of thoughts go through your mind when you see a bowler that's slightly heavier and that they're soft and they stay on the ground for a fraction longer than the other guys? And how would you go about finding out what the appropriate drills for them will be?
Yeah, I think first things first is like education. Sometimes like these guys don't know what they should be doing, and sometimes just like showing them, hey, this is what you look like, and then showing this is what I want you to look like, of like a really good example, is enough for really good athletes to go, oh, okay, I'm going to try that. I think sometimes as coaches we can sometimes overcoach, and we can tell them what to do too much rather than let them figure it out for themselves.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, just a bit of education I go, number one. And then I might cue something like being like really long through the spine or something like that, getting really long through the spine. Another drill that is the best for that is getting them to run over hurdles. So everyone would have seen that drill for where you run over top of hurdles. That I wouldn't even like tell them, hey, this is what I want you to do. I'll just tell them, I just want you to run through these hurdles and just tell me what it feels like. And then what I'll do, I'll take a video. I'll see if they've made any technical changes. And then I might, if they haven't, I might give them a cue of trying to like really hit the ground, attack the ground hard from above, or really spike their ground contact, things like that, to really try them to get put force down into the ground. Because what's happening is they're not hitting the ground with enough force. They're just passively hitting the ground. Whereas if they're actively thinking about punching into the ground hard, that will then allow them to then bounce up off the ground. And then with that too, another cue could be try and spend more time in the air than what you're doing right now. Things like that is something that I go to right away, because it's the opposite. It's like we have the ground and we have the air. They're on both ends of the spectrum. And it's about finding the right balance between how much time I spend on the ground versus how much time I'm spending in the air. So there are a couple of the things that I go to right away with that.
So I really like cues, because what a lot of coaches, and it doesn't really matter. Hello, mate. Yes, I can. I've just got to do somebody's button up. Just a minute.
Haha, no worries.
Just call him. Just say hello. Come on. He's in Australia. He talks a bit funny.
Hey, Seb. Hello, mate.
He's a long way away.
He's looking very smart.
He's on the other side of the world. So as we look down there, you know, the world is round.
Just dig a hole.
The other side of the world. Right, I've almost finished. I'll come in and see you after that, okay? Okay. See you in a minute. Can you shut the door? See you in a minute. Yeah, cues. So what a lot of coaches I've noticed, and including me actually in the past, we talk a lot about techniques. We talk a lot about joints and things like that. But I really like cues, because it taps into a slightly different learning style. So I would use a cue, for instance, if I wanted a longer spine at back foot contact, I would cue something like, can you feel your shoulder blades squeeze together at back foot contact? Because that then immediately, for a lot of bowlers, allows them to just be slightly taller, or anything that is cueable versus technique. And I think that's something that a lot of people can learn from. I really, really like punch into the ground, make it hard as opposed to soft. Why is that important, to get off the ground quicker?
So when we're running, like, we're trying to apply force into the ground in the shortest amount of time, because the idea is if you can put more force into the ground in a shorter period of time, you can then hit the ground and then bounce forward onto the other leg with running. So if you're spending more time on the ground, you're getting like bogged in the ground. The other person, let's say you're running a 100-meter race, the other person who's gliding off the ground, they're going to be able to take more steps, travel further per step. So we're trying to maximize pretty much how much you travel every single step, and how many steps you take, essentially. So we're just trying to be more efficient pretty much with that.
So it's basically springier, isn't it?
100%. If you just feel better as well, you can use it. I think that's what I do as well. I just go, sometimes I'll go, you know what? If they're running like a 50-meter sprint, I'll go, I just want you to make this rep the most springiest, bounciest rep you ever can think of. Yeah. And they just keep it really, really simple. Everyone knows that feeling. I think it's really important to coach the feeling of it rather than coach I don't want your ankle to hit the ground, or I don't want you to think about technique, because you can always, when you get the feeling of it, that's when it's into your subconscious mind. That's when it starts becoming repeatable and repeatable over and over again. You just chase that feeling.
Yeah. Would you ever, to give that feeling of springiness, would you ever have your athletes run barefoot drills?
I really like barefoot stuff. Yeah, 100%. I really do like it. It's like sometimes it's hard, obviously, when the grounds are wet and that. But I do like that. Sometimes it's not practical, but I sort of like build up my sessions where we'll always do some form of like plyometrics and some sort of drills at the start. And in that, I'm trying to cue that feeling all the way through. So it's not just like you get to bowling or you get to running, then we start thinking about being bouncy. It's like from this pogo hop, let's be bouncy, ball of our feet, head to the sun. Let's get some bounce off the ground, things like that. So then we're promoting that all the way through the session. So it's not so it's like front of mind all session long.
Yeah. How important is the pelvis when we're talking about getting off the ground quicker, punching through the ground? How important is the pelvis or hip flexors or something like that in terms of lifting knees and that sharp punch? I'm assuming that's also important.
Oh, so important. It's almost everything. It's like your pelvis, obviously your glutes, all your strongest muscles are around your pelvis. So all your biggest muscles, the most powerful ones. So it's super, super important. If your pelvis is like rolled forward and then your back is like arching and extended, it makes it really, really hard for you to drive your knee up into that nice like A-frame position. So then you can then attack the ground back underneath you.
Yeah.
So if your pelvis is rolled forward, it's physically impossible because it's the angle of what it's at. So if you can maintain a more neutral pelvis, number one, it just sets you up to get into better positions.
Yeah.
And then you can be a lot more forceful as well, because then you can really, contract your glutes a lot better and things like that. You can get better hip extension and you can really attack the ground a whole lot better when your pelvis is a lot more neutral. And as well, you can run a lot more relaxed and in rhythm and better timing than if you're tense, pelvis rolled forward. Then that typically leads to overstriding, heel strike, etc. So it's all like super, super important. One thing as well as the thing about when you're running is both legs working in opposites. So let's say, well, my left leg is down attacking the ground. My right leg needs to be working really hard to pull up towards the sky. So then that will also help me get taller too. So as they're both working opposites, but working together to keep us tall. Whereas if we're not thinking about that and we're like both legs are almost coming down, then that's going to help us sink into the ground, and we don't want that. So we want both the legs, one driving down, one driving up, and we need the pelvis in the right spot so we can drive up properly.
Yeah, yeah. And what if you were working, or being asked to input from your expertise, what are the important things to get young bowlers doing drill wise? You mentioned hurdles earlier, but if you were asked to, okay, a gold standard world class fast bowling program working with a bunch of 10 to 13-year-olds, and we are going to focus on the way they run, the way they move. What are the kind of things that you would absolutely say a world class program would include this? What immediately goes through your mind there?
I think my system that I use for running drills and is consistent across everyone, but as at an 11-year-old, it would start at its lowest regression and then build up. So there's three things that I like to work on with my drills. Number one is switching. So essentially working on improving the efficiency of one leg being on the ground, the other leg up, and then switching that position where then the other leg's on the ground and the other leg is up. So that switching stream of drill is like essentially trying to improve the speed of one leg on the ground to one leg up in the air.
Yeah.
From there, working on the cycle part of running. So it's not just about moving fast in the air. It's about what movement is the leg actually making. So increasing the efficiency of the movement. So then you can set yourself up to then attack the ground in the right direction, in the right efficiency. Yeah. So that's the second one there. And then the third one is if we do hit the ground, or when we do hit the ground, can we apply force really fast and can we be really bouncy? So there's going to be something to improve your bounce or reactivity or stiffness off the ground. So if we're working on those three streams of drills, we have switching drills working on cycling our legs, and then drills working on being bouncy off the ground. Those are the main things there. So if a switch drill, we look at an A march, might be the first one you start, an A skip, A switches, those drills there. Cycle drills are like your dribbles or your cycling. Those are the ones for those. And then basic plyometric and progress hops could be ones for like your bouncing ones there. So those are the 3 streams that I use for everybody pretty much. And then you can like plug and play. So the hurdle drills, they running over hurdles, goes into the cycle park. That's what that works there. So each drill can sort of fit into each stream, and you sort of progress them across the timeline.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's simple, isn't it? And I really encourage every coach that's working with young bowlers, young athletes, doesn't matter what size they are or anything like that, helping them to move and run, I think, is the biggest gift that coaches, bowling coach, cricket coach, S&C coach, that we can give young people. Because actually, if we are able to teach and coach that, it allows them to open up all sorts of experiences in life, let alone anything else. I like that. I put together, I'm going to need to refine it actually. A long time ago, I put together an 8-year fast bowling development program, and it was purely from a bowling coach's point of view. It'd be interesting actually if I sent it to you to cast your eye over and just kind of give me some feedback on it. But lots of it at 10 years old was all about animal movement. We've touched on this before: animal movements, running, moving, and we often forget, as bowling coaches, we focus so much on what happens through the crease, and that is so influenced by how bowlers get into the crease, which is why we've had a few conversations now on run-ups and things, because I think it's so important. Okay, listen, what else? I've got to get Seb's breakfast here now. Barefoot drills, done that. Listen, there's a lot of information there. We're on the live here. There's 3 of us on the live, so thanks for giving us your time. But that then goes out to all of my Substack subscribers. So High Performance Cricket, make sure you follow him. Is there anything else that we've missed there, just quickly?
It all sounds pretty good. Like, there's always next week as well. We can tease some stuff for next week too. So I mean, it's brilliant. These are the conversations that lots of coaches don't often get access to. So all good, mate. Listen, as always, it's been really good. Send me the video. I'll send you whatever it is you want. I've got this new gadget which I'll talk you through. It's basically recording everything. Nice. It's basically recording. I'll send you the link to it. It's bloody good. Look at that. That's cool.
All right, good man. Thanks for staying up. Are you going back to work, or is that your day done?
I am done, thankfully. I'm usually at the school, but we're on school holiday break starting up now. So I got 10 days off from being at the school, which is nice. And then we'll get back into training next week. So I'm done. I'm about to go do some hot, cold ice bath stuff and warm baths with one of the Victorian cricketers actually now. So we're going to go do a bit of recovery. Yeah, nice. So that sounds interesting in itself. Right, it's just raining here. We're supposed to be outside with a couple of our bowlers, so it might be indoors again today. We haven't had rain for a long time, although we had a little bit a few days ago, which interrupted the game. But yeah, okay, mate. Listen, great to catch up as always. Lovely, mate. Sounds good. Keen for next week already. Yeah. All right, me too. Catch you later. Legend Barnesy. See you, mate.